Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Novels and Nightcaps, a podcast where we read, we drink, and we ramble. My name is Gabe.
And I'm Nor.
And today we're continuing our Cosmere kick with book 3 of Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn series. So, Mistborn, the Hero of Ages. We will start off with a brief spoiler-free review before getting into the nitty-gritty of the story. But naturally, there will be spoilers for the first 2 books of the Mistborn trilogy. So if you haven't read those yet, you've been warned. But as always, before we begin, Nor, what are you drinking?
For today's episode, I picked a drink that I can't quite pronounce. It's French. It has the word boulevard in it. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce it.
Just say it in Spanish. Just say it in Spanish.
Yeah. I don't think that's how languages work. But essentially, it is bourbon, Campari, and sweet vermouth. It is a Boulevardy. I don't know. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce it again. That was my one and only attempt.
That's all
But,
right.
yeah,
why did you pick the drink? Is it the color, or is it it looked tasty? What's the reason behind it?
It looked tasty. I was really itching for some bourbon. It's been about a year and a half, maybe since I've
Yeah.
had bourbon, or anything other than mezcal.
Was it his bachelor party? Is that the last time?
I want to say yes. It's either
Yeah.
that or my 21st birthday, which
Yes.
would
it's
make
fair.
it even crazier. Yeah, but it's also red,
Color of blood.
color of blood.
Which we'll get into. There's plenty of blood in this book.
Plenty of blood in this, and yeah,
Taste test. Overall review of the drink.
bourbon.
Bourbon. Wow.
It's been so long. But anyway, what are you getting? What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a blackberry Vin and tonic. That's what I decided to call it. It's a gin and tonic, except named it's Vin instead of gin. You get it? I mean, I had a similar thing where I topped it off with some. It's a blackberry liqueur that I made a while ago for a different drink, but it's kind of just been sitting on my shelf, and I wanted to find a way to use the blackberry liqueur that I made. It was like an infused liqueur that I think it's still good. I
Okay.
guess we'll find out. I don't think it expires. We're gonna find out. I don't think it expires, but it looks cool. I mean, so basically, I obviously Vin is why I did the gin thing, because I thought that matched. But the blackberry I added in there for the blood look. That was the idea. So similar to you, a little bit of blood, but drink.
Thank you
It's
for the sound
tasty.
effect.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was 4D. I'm not gonna lie, tonic is not my favorite. I probably should have just gotten club soda, but tonic is in the name, so I felt wrong getting a different ingredient. So I stuck with the tonic, and it's the aftertaste, man. It's a little bitter, but I like bitter drinks. It's just it doesn't hit the same spot. Still, I like me some gin and tonic. You got the lime juice, you got the gin, obviously, big gin fan. And then you have, of course, simple syrup in there as well. And then I had some blackberry liqueurs. And then you top it off with tonic at the end. I topped it off with the liqueur at the end to get the layering effect to mixed levels of success, as you can see. But overall, decent drink. Decent freestyle drink. But before we get into spoilers for the book, we should probably give an overall score and review. So last time, at the end of the second book, we were left in an interesting situation, right? Elend kind of died, but he did die, I guess, kind of. And then he came back to life, and now he's a Mistborn. He's a Mistborn, and he's also the Emperor. Pretty big change. So this book opens with Elend being an Emperor and being a Mistborn. And then we have, of course, Vin in her own situation. She's now married, of course, to Elend, is the Empress, I guess, but also kind of accepting this religious role as the Hero of Ages a little bit. And then you have Sazed, who is struggling after Tindwyl died. That is a big thing in the story that he grapples with. And then finally we have, I don't think we know where Spook left off at the end of the last book. I don't fully remember, but he's important in this book. Spook is an important element of this book. And besides that, a lot of people died at the end of the last book. So it feels very much so that they unleashed something bad at the Well of Ascension. They know that. I don't remember if they know exactly what they unleashed, but they unleashed something bad. And there is the overwhelming feeling like something is wrong, right? Something is very, very wrong. So that's kind of what this book is about. It's the wrap up. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was really good. I mean, so my overall score is an 8.8 out of 10. So that's combining character, plot, impact, style, world, synthesizing that into an overall score out of 10. I gave The Hero of Ages an 8.8 out of 10. Nor, what did you give it? What's your kind of general first impressions?
I also really liked it. I gave it an 8.5 for, reasons we'll discuss later on. But an 8.5, I thought it was a great time. I read the last 150 pages in one sitting. I was so invested in it. I thought the ending was really bittersweet in all the right places. I thought the way it connects to the larger Cosmere was very satisfying for me as someone who's already read the Stormlight series. And so I'm sure I missed a lot of details in that series, but seeing it sort of start things off here, all these references was really satisfying. I thought it was a really great wrap up, and especially considering the way things left off at the last book, reviving Ellen felt like a very bold choice, but I think it paid off in a way that we're going to
Mm-hmm.
talk about as we get into spoilers.
Yeah, and I will add this really quick because I listened to it, nor you read a physical copy, correct? I did some research because something felt off regarding a certain segment of the book, I will say. We'll talk about this once the spoiler section comes in because then we'll talk about it. But if you're not wanting to be spoiled because of character voices, is a big thing that we have here. If you don't want to be spoiled regarding some significant reveals later on in the book, read it. Read a physical copy. Obviously you're not inspired by the voices. There's a pretty significant spoiler from the get-go that immediately, like, I didn't realize it was a spoiler until I got to the end of the book. Then I considered it, looked it up. Turns out this is kind of a complaint that multiple people have when listening to Hero of Ages. But we'll talk about I can see the confusion on your face. We'll talk
I
more
have
about
no,
it.
no, 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 no. I have two ideas, but
Okay.
we'll talk about
Okay.
it.
So if you are wanting, I would say this is probably a book to physically read, even though it's very long. It's probably worth the effort here in order to have, I would say, the purest Brandon Sanderson experience. And I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, I found this to be the most satisfying Sanderlanche out of the three books. The final section of the book was probably the best out of the three. This was a brilliant wrap up to a trilogy, and it, like, you can kind of understand why people bought into Sanderson as a whole, especially after this book. He sells it, like, he does it well. So overall, 100%. I mean, if you're already this far, you got to read the third one. And the third one does not disappoint. If you were iffy on the second, still read the third. It doesn't matter. The third one answers pretty much all the questions that I had, all the questions I didn't even know I had, and more. And I'm not a big world guy, yet this book made me a world guy. That's significant, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I left this book wanting to keep going. I need to know what happens next. I need to read the second era of Mistborn. I need to read Secret History. I need to know what happens with the rest of the Cosmere. I'm invested in this world, in this
But
universe.
I would say this is like a satisfying wrap up. Like, it's a conclusion in the most part. It leaves questions open, I think, for the Cosmere as a whole, but it answers and closes the immediate story for the cast. So it's not like it closes that end, which is really satisfying. I think it did a really good job of ending this trilogy, but also, I mean, it makes sense that there's a second trilogy, that there's an era two. It doesn't seem out of the ordinary. It makes sense to me. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like both of us agree we're probably going to keep reading. Whether probably, I don't know how long it'll be till we enter era two, but you have to. I mean, I know that the vibe is very different in era two, but
They
still,
have
I mean,
guns.
they have guns, but
They
I
have
like
guns.
guns. I mean, because, sorry, I won't spoil it. There was a few really cool moments in this book that I was really satisfied with, because I think we theorized a little bit in the last episode about some elements such as gunpowder and guns, and we get pretty direct answers. I'm excited to talk about that. But anyways, that seems like all we can actually talk about for a spoiler-free section. If you're this far, read it. Come on. But if you want to listen on anyways and you haven't read the book, oh, you're in for a treat, because this book is quite fantastic. So spoiler section starting now. Nor, let's dive into characters right at the bat. What did you give characters? What did you think? And how did it compare to the previous books?
Yes. Characters. I gave characters an 8.5 out of 10. I think where they where this book picks up, the characters are already well established. They're very confident in their own skin. Ellen, in particular, is a very different character from where he first starts off. As is Vin, as is everybody else, of course, but you can definitely see it with Ellen the most. He's almost a completely different character, fully embracing his role as an emperor. I thought, you know, the character journeys were excellent, and you really do feel the stress that these characters are feeling, the hopelessness, the despair, the whole nihilism in the face of the end of the world. The world is ending, and Ellen is often struggling with these questions, like how am I supposed to fix the sky
The end of the
breaking?
world.
Yeah, how am I supposed to fix all these ash mount, you know, spouting lava, like lava burning these cities? Like, how am I supposed to do this and still feel hope? And you have that with Van, you have that with Zazid, this religious keeper who has lost all faith and is trying to figure out the whole truth before he can, you know, even think of starting to help out. So,
Hmm.
in terms of characters, I thought it was really great, really well done. There's not necessarily a lot of character growth anymore.
Hmm.
Not
Except for Sazed. I mean, Sazed is like
yes,
the main. Honestly, he's like the protagonist of this book. But yeah,
yes. When it comes to Sazed, yeah, he does go through all this character development, but
and Spook.
everybody else, yeah. And okay, okay,
But no, yeah,
half the
only those.
characters go through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I agree. Like Vin and Ellen don't. They kind of already reached their. They solved themselves a little bit. They have like questions and they ponder, but it's. I mean, you're right. Like they're not having significant growth. They've discovered who they are. It's a lot more of an external challenge for them
Mhm.
in this book. So I do agree. It's only Spook and Says that I think that really had any sort of significant growth as Spook obviously becomes Batman, you know. there's there's that. And then Sazed is not super concerned with the end of the world, but is rather concerned with eternal, you know, like his soul and where Tyndall ended up and if his whole life is worthless. There's different worries for him. But still, I do agree. The actual growth is not necessarily there. Yet the interactions are still very tight, very fantastic. And most of the time I was just interested in characters talking to each other. Like I didn't I'm trying to remember all their names. There's a lot of names. The guy at the city that Ellen was talking to and Ellen was dealing with. The
Yeoman.
guy Yeoman. Yeah, like Yeoman and Ellen's interactions, their intellectual squabbles, like their relationship, for example, I really just enjoyed their interactions. Like there was not too much character growth from it, but it was kind of cathartic to see him step into that old role that we remember from book one. So I think it shined because we already know the characters well and we believe in the characters. But I mean, I also gave an 8.5 for the exact same reasons you did. We kind of reached our point with Vin and Ellen, and it would have been cool if they had still had something a little bit left, and they
Mhm.
just didn't, which is okay. I still very much enjoyed it. It's very good.
Yeah, that is the main reason why I'm capping it off at 8.5 and not any higher. This is a book that is primarily concerned with plot, capital P plot. This is the end of the world. All the pieces are finally coming together. Our characters are where they're at now. It's time for them to figure out a solution to, the apocalypse. But 8.5 is still a pretty great score. I am still very satisfied with the characters. I think they're all very unique. Spook's journey as a vigilante, daredevil Batman kind of figure was really fun to see, very refreshing. And Sazed's, spiritual journey also quite beautiful to just kind of really be a part of that journey with him.
Yeah, I think with Spook, what really stuck out to me, and this is a little bit impact, so it's kind of bleeding into there. Um, but the fact that he had to deny the guy that he basically worships, right? He had to deny Kelsier's voice in his head and choose something that he knew to be good instead. And I was like, that, I mean, obviously it was Ruin in his head, not Kelsier, but I mean, I didn't know that. At first, I was very much like, this is Kelsier. Kelsier would have done these things. This makes sense. Kelsier would say to kill these guys. That makes sense. And it felt like it was really intense whenever Spook had to stand his ground and basically become his own man, and choose to do what is good and what is right compared to what, the Grand Kelsier was saying in his mind. And that was a really powerful thing. I mean, especially whenever, come on, like the scene where he's in the fire, like that's so good. I honestly, Spook might have been my favorite plot line. I was very much invested in not as much his relationship with the citizen's girl sister, not as much
One-dimensional
that.
character.
Yeah, the one-dimensional character. I didn't really care much about that, and I was like, oh, cool. But Spook himself, I've been invested in because he's such a nobody character. He's such a nothing, and for him to become a something was great. And the fact that he gains these powers, yeah, becomes Daredevil basically because he can't see and has to rely. It's so. I mean, it's sick. It's so cool. It's so cool. And I don't know. I think I'm a sucker for brutal sacrifice like that, where it's not just dying. It's like worse than dying. I mean, going into a fire, getting melted feels way worse than. I mean, he still survives. I thought he was dead. I mean, did you think he was dead whenever that happened the first time? Like, I was like, Spook's gone.
I got to say, I'm actually kind of proud of myself. I never tend to like look too far ahead when I'm reading a book. Like I don't care to like predict or like even
Yeah.
try to guess. I just want to get carried away with the story. I didn't think at all that it was Kelsier. I kind of was like, oh, that's Rowan.
Okay.
But also with the whole imagery of like the survivor of the flames, I I don't think I ever thought that Spook died here. But I
That's
was very
fair.
satisfied with his character. I think he was also my favorite character in this book. He's just so much more dynamic than he used to be. Uh, his whole, interactions with Rowan, disguised as Kelsier, and taking up this role as a leader, that was really fun.
No, I definitely got on the whole Calcier thing. I was for sure. I mean, like to me, it was even funnier. I don't know spatially. I don't remember where this happened. Like, was that reveal that Kelsier's ruined? Is that the same time that Vin finds out that Reen is actually ruined as well? That the
I
voice in her head, her brother's voice. I don't know when that happened, but I think that Kelsier's was first. That Kelsier being ruined was first. I think. Either
no,
way, they both
Vin.
surprised me, which is really funny. I mean, I was like, "What?" Both times, which is so silly, I think. So silly. But I mean, I got both times. What did you think about that reveal? Did you already know that? Did you already suspect that?
The only spoiler that I had going into this book, because I foolishly looked up a name that I was like, "Oh, that sounds familiar," and then I got spoiled because I was way off, was that Sazed eventually takes up the shards, right, and becomes Harmony.
Yeah, it's a pretty big one.
But yeah, but everything else I didn't I wasn't spoiled by it. I I'm pretty sure the reveal that Reen is ruined came before Kelsier Kelsier's voice in
Okay.
Spook's head. Yeah. Did you fall for the Reen thing? Did you think he was
Yeah.
back?
No, no, I was very confused. I very much was like, I know that Vin was reacting weird. Like I knew that it wasn't a Chondra. I knew that, but I by no means thought that he was back. I didn't know what was going on, and the reveal was very satisfying. I for the most part was along for the ride. Like I really didn't try and predict too much. When I say predict, a lot of times it's like I'm reading it and then I'm like, he's dead or he's not dead. That kind of, it's more that thing. It's not I'm not trying to like extrapolate too much. But yeah, I 100% fell for all of it. There, I'm trying to think. I knew what was going to happen with Ellen at the end. I guess this is plot. We should probably just talk about plot, huh? So, plot 9 out of 10. I mean, you also gave it a 9, right? We both were really on board with it. Thought it was really good. The only thing that I was able to super duper predict was the whenever Ellen and all of his men basically used up all of Ruin's body. I was like, okay, yeah, that's the smart choice. That to me was the most strategic option. Made a lot of sense. His characters tend to be quite strategic. So I mean, that fell in line. That wasn't exactly shocking. I thought actually the characters realized that a little later, like surprisingly late. But um, I thought the plot was overall very very tight, really good. Everything felt important and significant. This was the book out of all three, in my opinion, where every scene felt like something was going on and it was all mattering. Like this was, and the stakes are obviously kind of to think for that a little bit because the world is ending. If a character is choosing to do something, it's because it really matters to them, at least. So Seiza choosing to, instead of focus on helping his friends, instead focus on trying to find a true religion is significant. Like that's a plot choice that matters. And the fact that it actually does matter in the very end of the book was just so beautiful. Honestly, it was a very beautiful way to tie the story in a neat bow. And yeah, I mean, the Kolos army was awesome. I loved everything that was going on with that. Loved the mind control and the just horror of not being able to control yourself and how that played into the plot quite well. It just all went together very nicely, and it explained stuff from the previous books very nicely, like the earring. I mean, come on. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I was so frustrated by how good Sanderson really is at all of this. I was like, "You son of a gun, you did it again." Everything just falling into place at the right time, everything going over my head because he'll do something mysterious, and then later on, a different character will learn the truth about something, and so you don't make the association as easily of like, because you're thinking like, "Oh, the things that apply to this character don't apply to the other character."
Yeah.
It happened way too much, and I was so frustrated by how effective that was, because I was keeping an eye out for those things, and it still went over my head. The whole, hemorrhagy thing as a
Yeah.
magic system, how just even the slight spike can actually, affect you. The earring really caught me off guard. Ruin being Reen's voice this whole time, that got me. I was like, "Oh, you son of a gun." I
I'm
think
I mean,
everything
because I
just
think
kind of
like he really plays with the fact that whatever you see on the page, you believe. Like I don't know, because of the fact that it's a book. Whenever she hears Reen's voice, it just kind of felt like a thought. It just felt like a thought, and it didn't feel the same way as whenever. Um, I mean, it was the same, but it didn't feel the same as whenever Zane was talking to God, for example, or whenever
Kelsier.
whenever Spook was talking to Kelsier. Like it doesn't feel the same. But I think part of that is because Vin and Reen have been with us since the very beginning, and it has always felt like just her brother's conscience speaking in, trying to keep her down as this street rat sort of vibe. And I don't know, that was crazy good surprise. That was really good. And the fact that, I mean, like, don't correct me if I'm wrong, but Vin wasn't actually special or the chosen one at all. It was kind of like dumb luck that she got chosen, right? She just happened to fit certain parameters that Ruin needed.
Yeah, I think it's implied that Preservation was looking for Vin,
Yeah. Okay.
but Ruin was using her as a hero of ages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of goes into one of the brilliant things about this book, in that the you can't always trust what's on the page. I really enjoyed that. I mean, with the epigraphs in the previous books, right? And that's the spoiler I wanted to mention for this one. It's the epigraphs. Because I imagine for you when you were reading it, did you know? I mean, did you? I guess you were already spoiled on who's God, so you probably connected some dots already. But whenever I was listening to it, it's Sazed's voice, so you immediately know that he's writing. So I'm like, okay, he survives. But granted, I didn't chalk that up to he's God, but I did think, especially whenever Vin becomes Preservation and is in her God mode, overseeing everything. I did keep thinking, how does Sazed know this? Like, how is that? I was very confused until the final reveal. So it was still satisfying, but it definitely hurt a little bit of that surprise that I think some readers would feel. Like, I understand what are you gonna do in an audiobook? What else are you gonna do?
I was
But still,
wondering I was wondering about that because, yeah, I already knew that Sazed was the Harmony, he
harmony.
one who combines both preservation and ruin. That didn't surprise me as much. That didn't bother me as much, just based on like knowledge that I already have of like how shards kind of work in this Cosmere. But I mean, I was keeping an eye out on those epigraphs, and it's very subtle. If you're not listening to the book, it's still very subtle. But because the hero of ages, the person narrating says it, he doesn't say names until he does. He starts dropping names, right? Obviously, you're already assuming that Vin is a hero of ages. But
Yeah.
if you're looking for the epigraphs, he mentions Elend. So Elend is not the hero of ages. He mentions Marsh. He mentions Spook. He mentions Kelsier. He mentions all these characters. And then near the end of the book, he doesn't mention Vin by name. He mentions her, she, and he starts kind of talking about it as if it's like a hypothetical. Like it could still very well be Vin speaking of herself because she's talking about Ruin, thinking about Vin. But then
Yeah.
we know it's a very subtle thing. But I was reading it,
No,
I was like,
that's
oh, it says it, it says it, it says it.
I kind of wish though. I kind of wish I had the opportunity to even like play with that because I there was not like I already knew, so there wasn't. I was paying attention obviously because of the immense amount of world building that's going into those epigraphs. I feel more than any other book, these epigraphs felt the best. Like they were just the most interesting because they answered they were extremely heavy handed, obviously, and in telling us all of the world building. But it was still really interesting. I was very I the other two, I was semi-surprised by how important the epigraphs were. As in, like, I would listen to them, but not really internalize them like I am the rest of the story. Whereas with this one, I was fully internalizing that because number one, I mean, the first two books taught us that they matter. And then you also have the fact that I knew it was Sazed, and I'm like, I care about that character. I care about Sazed. Number three, he's obviously talking about all of the stuff that I had questions to, like, what about the gunpowder? What about all this? Because that's a big question when world building. And after you're wondering it, and so the fact that he answers this and goes into all of this, I mean, like, this book does wonders for the Lord Ruler. Maybe I should have upped the characters by a point one because of the Lord Ruler getting a little less flat. What did you think about that? I mean, do you feel as if he's not the bad guy we thought he was, or are you like, no, he's still pretty awful, he's still pretty evil. Like the trying to save his people doesn't at all impact my opinion of his actions.
I think it definitely humanized him a little bit more, and the whole idea of like Ruin subtly influencing events, even though he's imprisoned and his powers are lessened. That explains a lot of behaviors, especially with the Lord Ruler. I think it definitely this book humanized him a lot more, made him a lot more interesting, more nuanced. And you also get all those chapters where Ellen is doing things that he knows are not the right thing to do, but they are things that he still
Has to
needs to
do.
do. Yeah, like he
Yeah.
has to do it. And he starts to understand the Lord Ruler a lot more in this book. And I think those chapters did wonders for the Lord Ruler in ways that chapters in The Well of Ascension did wonders for Kelsier's character. Kelsier was still a character despite being dead, in book 2. In book 3, he's a lot less present, but we instead get that same effect with the Lord Ruler, and I really enjoyed those. The Lord Ruler is one of my favorite characters, I think. He's very interesting.
Yeah, and yeah, I think Ellen to me was really interesting. Just honestly, you know how sometimes whenever you're just living life and you experience things and you connect that to the book, and that something that would not usually stand out to you stands out to you a lot. So I take a lot of like seminars. I'm in classes. I'm an academic. I am as similar to Elland in the first book as you could probably get regarding like sitting around a table talking to other intellectuals about things that you're not actually doing, right? Like that is something that I very much experience on a daily basis of living in the theoretical and hoping for the world, but also not having to deal with the real repercussions of trying to enact any sort of change. But I also have classes with a lot of active duty soldiers, and it's really refreshing to have people who actually have to live out some of the things I'm talking about. So I had one class a few days ago where we were talking about morality, like ethics in war. And I'm a pretty hardliner. I'm pretty hardline on this stuff. I believe in like an objective morality. I think that there is a right and wrong if you dive down into it in any given situation. But I'm also fully aware that that can make me appear very self-righteous. It's like, oh, this guy thinks he's got all the answers. And I get that. But I'm also fully willing to say I'm only allowed to believe this stuff because I am in no way equipped to be in a position of power to actually make these decisions, because I know I couldn't morally make them in a way that is just. Like, you can't be a leader of a nation and prioritize all of the peoples whenever you have a responsibility as a leader to prioritize your peoples. It's just not how it works. I mean, this is funny. Before the podcast, I told Nora I wouldn't just quote things. I brought a book. I was like, I don't mean that guy I'm about to quote something. So Thucydides, he's a Greek philosopher and historian. He once said that the weak, the strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must. Right, and that's a thing that rulers typically live by. That's why you gain power. That's why you get strong. That's why you do everything that Ellen does in this book. It's strategic. It's looking at the world in a realist way. Yet I don't have to do that because I'm not in that position. I'm able to sit back and look, I think, with a happier, possibly more ignorant mind. But I think I'm okay with that. I think ignorance is bliss in some things. To say I don't want to be in a position where I have to choose, do I slaughter these people or starve? I don't want to be in that position. But I think we can all say, yes, slaughtering people is wrong. That's a wrong thing. And Elland identifies that too. He sees all of these bad actions as a means to an end, as trying to save his people. So I don't know. That's something that, like, an everyday life situation made me highlight this specific angle of the story more than I think I typically would. But I thought that was really a really compelling tension between Ellen's old self and new self, and him having to come to terms with that old philosopher isn't wrong, but the new leader isn't wrong either. And being able to rest in that tension, and I mean, in the end, die in it. So I don't know. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. If you felt that with any of the other characters or with Ellender, because I know that's a big thought.
I knew you were gonna love. It's like this. It's like this is this, it's like this is Gabe's cup of tea. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
that's,
pretend. I'm not gonna pretend that I could follow like half the line of reasoning that he was like bringing up constantly. A lot of it kind of
yeah.
went over my head because I just don't think about that type of thing. I mean,
Mhm.
I also like to believe that there's like a objective morality. What that is, I don't know. I would feel like, I guess it's the type of thing that deep down you do know. You could never get me to explain it out loud, at least not
Yeah.
like on the spot. I still found it very fascinating. I thought he was, if anything, I thought he was refreshing to see Ellen have to make these choices, and he knows they're not the right thing to do. I mean, there's so many times where like someone like Ham or the other generals are like, this is the right thing to do, and Ellen's like, no, no, it's not. Like, we're not even gonna pretend that it's the right thing to do. It's just the thing that needs to be done. And I think that's something that Sanderson does really well. And I can only say that from 2 series that I've read, but he's really good at the whole, the struggles of being a king, the struggles of being a leader. It's not as simple as just doing the right thing. It's doing the thing that's best for their people. How can they uphold their duty, their responsibility for all the lives that are kind of on his hands. Like, it's the whole final empire is Alan's responsibility. He took it upon himself. and he has to live with those consequences. I think Tyndall summed it up really well in The Will of Ascension. It's like you have um you only have one job, and that is to do what you think is right and accept the responsibility, accept the consequences of that. Accept if it works, accept that. If it fails, accept that it is your fault. It's a heavy burden, and you can
Mm,
definitely feel it with Ellen. I thought that was fascinating. Um, but as far as like any character arc that I felt really close to, I guess in a way, Vin. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure this one out. But lately, I've been thinking a lot about the idea of saying goodbye. Not that I'm in any place where like I'm saying goodbye to people, but it's like the idea of like the serenity that comes with letting someone go or like leaving people behind. And I think Vin really I mean, the chapter following Ellen's death was really beautiful to me because
mhm,
it kind of summed up how I've been feeling in a very, non-consequential, non-existential thing, just like coworkers leaving my job or people that I no longer talk to. It's like I'm okay because I let them go a long time ago, and they were still part of my life, and we still had those moments. And I can't remember the exact quote that Vin brings up against Ruin, but it's the idea that even though life ends, what matters is like the emotions that you live. It's emotion. Emotion is the weakness, or emotion is the reason why Ruin will not succeed in this fight. And I think that's what stuck with me. But I I don't know. Sazed's religious journey, Spook finally standing up for himself and being this, figure of leadership, taking ownership of his actions and, being more like Kelsier, but still being himself. I think this book was just really rich in themes that are
mm.
worth exploring. And I think, if one of them doesn't resonate with you, another one is bound to.
I
Even
think that's
even
really good.
Marsh's little arc.
Yeah. Marsh was an interesting one. I wanted to like his arc more. I did like it, but also it was just for kind of depressing because I think as a reader you knew how little control he had, and when that switch is flipped, it's just kind of devastating because he really doesn't want to do what he's doing, and that's awful. I mean, that was really unfortunate. But I agree. I think one of the big strengths of this book is that there are so many different deep themes that he does explore. And you're right, like you can latch onto any of them. The fact that I was able to latch onto Ellen, yet you could care less, is like beautiful. I think it's a great thing. I will say that I didn't in the moment truly think about it. With Vin, I noticed that she didn't break down and cry when Ellen died. And I went, huh, that's interesting. And then I got more focused on the fact that she's like, you know, preservation. But it was pretty epic, like when she saw him die and just kind of was at peace with it. So I think in reflection, that's really interesting. But in the moment, that didn't necessarily stick out to me other than, interesting moment. One moment that was really powerful for me, Sazed's arc was really fascinating. I don't know. It's just I was watching Kitchen Nightmares. Is that what it's called? The one with Gordon Ramsay where he goes and fixes restaurants. This is a really weird connection, but my wife was making me watch it last night, and there was this really fascinating moment where this pizza shop owner who's really stubborn and makes really bad pizza basically said, "I can't give this place up because what is my life worth if I don't have my shop anymore?" And I think that kind of sums up Sazed's problem of like, I can't really just give up on religion. I got to search through every single religion because if I give up, if I find that there is there is no truth, there is no reasonably correct religion, then that means I'm worthless. That means my entire life's work is pointless. That means that I am pointless. And that interaction between Spook and Sazed, and I pulled up the quote just because I thought this was really fantastic, where Spook says, "Faith means that it doesn't matter what happens. You can trust that somebody is watching, trust that somebody will make it all right." And the detachment of faith and reason was really fascinating that logic can only get you so far, that searching for the plot holes in every religion can get you so far, but faith is taking the leap and trusting, which is an interesting thing. And ultimately, I'm not even sure if Sazed really, I mean, he trusts in the end that Vin is going to fix stuff, like he says that. But ultimately, what we find is instead he relies not on the logic of the religions, but on the truth in the religions instead. He fixates on something different, which I found really profound, I think. To instead pull it apart, he picks the gold from the sand, which is a fascinating thing. I don't know. What did you think of Sazed's whole arc of him searching inward, of him kind of diving deep within his soul?
I thought it was great. There's one thing that I still it bothers me a little bit because as someone who's like not crazy knowledgeable about religion, I can still kind of discern the idea that a lot of doctrines are altered by history and like human interpretation of it, you know? And like you have all, you have, and you do see it in this book with the whole survivor, the Church of the Survivor, how it starts with the martyr, and then you have all these other people who were not even related to the event start interpreting that event and creating the religion from that, and then it starts to like evolve and mutate as it goes. That's my experience with religion. That's the way I see it, or the way that that's what I tend to focus when I tend to focus on religion. When I think of religion, I think of all the ways like that people have altered it. It just always felt weird that Sazed kind of overlooked that idea that, all these records are still human doctrines. But again, I don't think it matters too much. It's just one of those things that I don't know if that's a good reason. I didn't think too critically about it. But outside of that, I mean, it's a beautiful journey. It's the end of the world. This is the moment where people are bound to lose faith. It's the moment where people need faith the most because the alternative is we're doomed and we're all going to die and there's no purpose. And what's even the point in trying to stop this apocalypse? I thought the way he had his epiphany was very beautiful because it's not grand at all. It just happens. He's in a room and suddenly after thinking about it, he realizes that he has to make a choice. He can't be an atheist. He can't be an agnostic. He has to pick a lane. He either believes or he doesn't believe. He wants to believe, so he chooses to believe. And it's such a simple like epiphany, and he just walks out of that room, and all of the sudden, the situation is still the same. The problems are still the same, but the fact that he changed his framework, his prescription lens, everything changed for him. And I thought that was really good because that's how it tends to work in real life. You don't have
Yeah.
these big epic moments, these big epic epiphanies. The epiphanies happen when you're in the toilet or when you're walking, when you're taking a stroll down the park and something stupid happens. That's when you get those epiphanies. And I thought for such a high fantasy epic that takes place at the end of the world, having that realization be so simple was really beautiful. It was like serendipity at its finest.
It was
So I was very
incredibly
happy with
intimate.
that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
it was
I'm
very
with you.
personal.
I I mean, especially because while it is a very quiet, anticlimactic to an extent, right, moment. It's not anticlimactic in a way that disappoints you. It's anticlimactic in a way that satisfies, which is, I don't know if that if that's a paradox, but it's really really good. I noticed that as well, of just how quick the moment was, how it was just a simple thought. Yet it's also the collaboration of so many people speaking to him and so many people encouraging him, and so many. I mean, it's all like, even before this book, even before Tyndall died, even before he lost his faith, he never really had any faith. He didn't believe in any of the religions. He believed in all of them in a sense. He believed in their innate value, but he was never a believer, which I think was really interesting. I mean, I'm pretty sure Ham in one of the previous books basically gave him this conversation of like, you preach all these religions that you don't believe in. Like, what are you doing? And I think that is fascinating. So it's not just an epiphany that kind of pulls him from the muck, but it's an epiphany that changes everything from before. He is no longer just the scholar. He's also a believer, which is I think you said it well. I mean, the prescription glasses are on. Yet, I think at the same time, I think it's really fascinating because he was only able to really see the world in a new light after exploring inward, right? Because there's the external and the internal. We see with Vin and Ellen for the most part, it's a very external story. They're marching around dealing with individuals. I mean, it's a very external experience. Vin is literally fighting what it was like 7, 8, 12. I don't remember how many people. She was fighting a ridiculous amount of people and was being awesome. And it's a very you're literally fighting the end of the world. Yet throughout all of this, Sazed is having an emotional breakdown. So he had to conquer internally in order to explore externally. I have a quote. I've been reading some Augustine guys, some Confessions by Augustine, and I was reading today, and I found this interesting quote that I think actually applied. Like I was reading it, and I went, "Oh, that's really interesting." It says this: people go where they can marvel at mountain heights and massive waves of the sea and immensely wide waterfalls and the ocean that encircles the continents and the orbits of the heavenly bodies, but these same people leave themselves behind. I think Cezanne has kind of done that in some of the previous books. And you see the repercussions of that in this book. He has failed to settle within himself. He's stood on that fence. He's been agnostic. He hasn't been a believer of anything, and yet he wonders at the people around him. He very clearly experiences joy and loves and feels, yet he never decides what is true until now. And it's after he decides that he can actually see the world in a foundationally different way. And I just thought that was really compelling. That was a really like deep arc that I didn't expect, because in book one, I mean, it seems to me that Seize has it all together. Book two as well. He seems the most complete character. Yet the foundation is rocky, right? It seems only sticks and stones because the moment his loved one dies, whatever belief he had in the world around him completely falls away. And I thought that was really, really interesting because we don't see that with all the other characters because most of the characters are a mess. We've gotten off the rails, man. We didn't even decide to give a score for Impact yet. We're at 52 minutes right now. We
Yeah,
got off the
this is
rails.
almost the end of the episode. Yeah.
Okay, we gotta at least score Impact. Sorry. Yeah, I gave it a 9 out of 10. If you couldn't tell from all my ramblings, I very much had a lot to think about after reading this book, and I thought that the themes were very compelling.
I gave Impact an 8 out of 10. I thought Sazed's character arc was incredible. I just wish we had had something with like Ellen and Vin as well. But at the same time, like I understand, they already had their moments. Book two was Ellen's book essentially. And I don't know, like there are moments here that eventually happen in, and again, I don't want to keep comparing it to Stormlight, but there's moments here that happen again in Stormlight just in a significantly more rewarding way that it was impactful then, but I've already read that. So in here, it wasn't as impactful. I think that's why, for me, the impact is a bit lower. An 8 out of 10 is still pretty high as far as impacts go. Sage's journey was amazing. All of the ending was incredible. It was just so serene in so many ways. And again, we're going to go back to Zaysa. The way he reconstructs the world by drawing from every religion that he's ever preached about. The whole idea of like, no single religion contains the whole truth, but every religion contains truth in parts. I thought that was really beautiful. And it really gets you thinking about all these religions in the world that we live in and how easy it can be sometimes to dismiss someone else's beliefs. But there's a reason why people believe things. People don't believe things for no reason. there is some validity to every religion, I think. Otherwise, there wouldn't be people practicing it. And I thought that was really beautiful, the way it was implemented in this book, the way it says it comes to that conclusion, the way it also serves a practical purpose, and like the whole understanding the physical elements of the human. The star charts, I thought that was fantastic. I was like, the whole time I kept thinking of like how the Lord Ruler pushed the planet off orbit, and then Vin also kind of tried to do that. And the star charts are like the perfect thing to like. Of course, if you have these records of the star charts, you know where the planet was supposed to be. That was such a simple like thing that came back, and it just satisfied me in so many ways. It's just awesome. But yeah,
Yeah.
Impact 8 out of 10. I thought it was great.
I'm glad you mentioned that ending segment. I got like super chills during that scene. It was just such a beautiful moment, and after so much chaos, and I mean, like, dude, whenever Vin was screwing everything up, like, there was a tsunami hitting the coast, and it was just everything was going wrong, and because it felt like she should be able to fix it. And I know that was the point, right? It felt like she has the power now. She can do it, yet she couldn't because I mean, the nature of the world is that when we create something, we often destroy something else in the process. And I that was just beautiful. Out of anybody, Sazed is the one who could do it, and it makes so much sense. I mean, I know enough about the Cosmere to understand a little bit that he's like, okay, shard bearer. There's this whole situation. Like, immortal can essentially take the I don't know piece of creation or whatever. I don't know it all, but I understood it enough to be like, yeah, I'm on board. I get it. But that was just. Poof. That was the moment, the biggest moment in the book, which is good because it's the end, that blew me away. I and that was the moment that I thought the prose was its strongest. So I gave Style an 8 out of 10 for a few specific scenes that really did impact me. So I guess it's kind of tied to impact there. 8 out of 10 as in I thought it was better than the other books because of there's no other moment in the other books that actually gave me chills. Like say Zed putting the world back together. Not that it was particularly flashy, but I thought it was good. So I don't know. How did it compare to the previous books for you?
I'm not sure. I was well into the story. I was well into the story, well into the characters, like fully immersed. I still think the style is a 7 out of 10. I wasn't particularly wowed by any of it. If you read Rhythm of War, I mean, the bar is way high. That one, I would say, has a style that is significantly higher. But again, this is its own thing. I don't know. It felt very similar. There were definitely moments. The moments that I'm sure you're also thinking of are the ones that I'm thinking of here. The big moments, they were beautiful, but not. I don't know if I would give it to the style, if that makes sense. I don't know if I would give
Yeah, that's fair.
credit to the style for that. I would give it to every other facet of this story. But I think that's what I would say. I still give it a 7 out of 10. I'm not reading it for the pros. I'm reading it for almost everything else.
That's a good point. I mean, it is a glass window at the end of the day. Yeah, I'm after reading this, I'm very much feeling the Cosmere itch. I'm like, I gotta, and I gotta finish. I gotta read Rhythm of War, um, and that's the I don't know. That's I gotta find the right time for it because it's such a big commitment, especially looking at the book. Just looking at it is a big commitment. So I gotta find it. But I mean, you're saying the style is a high bar in that one. So
Let me put it this way, and again, we'll get to Stormlight eventually at some point if we ever dare to do that. But
oh my gosh,
rhythm,
that's so
rhythm,
intimidating.
rhythm, Rhythm of War made me cry. It made me weep. No book in recent memory, if at all, has ever made me cry. Rhythm of War made me cry. This book made me
Oh
go, "Wow, that's amazing." I got chills, but it didn't make me cry.
yeah,
And I don't know, once you've once you've made me cry, it's like I think I'll always hold you to a really high standard. So again,
that's
7 out of
valid.
10 is still pretty good, but
That's valid. We'll have to do an episode for Rhythm of War whenever I read it. Or speaking of which, I mean, next time next time we're going to be doing Red Rising. Isn't that correct? Do you have the Red Rising? I love this series. I'm on Dark Age right now. I love it. I love it. I think it's so good. I even got my dad hooked. And so now it's time for Nor to catch it. And I know he's tried multiple times, but the third time's a charm. You can do this.
Yes,
You can do this. You can do this. But
I can do it.
of course, that's next time. But now we have to talk about what is, I mean, very easily the best part of the book. Easily. It's the world. The
The world
world.
building.
Nor, what'd you think about
And
the
we,
world?
yeah, mean, we both gave it the same score, and it is our highest. It looks. We gave it a 9.5 out of 10. Again, it's frustrating how good Sanderson really is at this crap. He's so good at the world building. He's so good at connecting everything, making it really airtight. All the magics make sense. All my questions were answered in the epigraphs or in the big reveals. I'm not the most like critical thinker when it comes to like poking holes in like systems and magic systems and all that stuff. I can't think of anything wrong with the system, you know? I wasn't like crazy about Allomancy. I'm always, slightly amused by how people praise Allomancy as like this amazing magic system. Because I don't think it's like crazy, it's great.
That's a hot take. Okay, no, we need to dive deeper into this. Okay,
Is
so
it
if you
really
were
a
to
hot
rank,
take?
I think it is. That sounds like a hot take. You don't think that Alamancy is a very good magic system?
No, I did not say I did not say that. I never
What
said
did
that.
you say? What did you say?
I said I don't think it's a crazy good system. There's a difference. It's genius because of how simple it is, but I don't think it's
Yeah,
like, wow, I'm not like amazed by it. And when I was
yeah,
reading the books, I never particularly cared about it, like it's
yeah.
cool. It adds flavor to the story. Now, Feryukimi and Hemorrhagy, the other two, amazing. I love that. And I love the implications. And Allomancy as a part of a bigger system, that is great. I think that's amazing. But I never cared about it too much in the first book, is what I'm trying to say. I didn't I'm like, wow, people praise this book for the magic system. Okay. I mean, yeah, it's great. It's a great magic system. It's just not like
I think it's.
I wouldn't praise Mistborn for the magic system. I would praise it for the other stuff. But,
I think that one
it's
of the
it's
things that's
Magneto.
good
It's
about
Magneto. It's
yeah,
Magneto
it is
and the
Magneto.
X-Men. Like I've seen that before,
I
but
think that what makes it really good is how simple it is. Like I think that's what's so good about it is that it makes the reader feel up to speed, like intelligent. I don't like I understand ferrochemy, but like I don't really like I understand it, but I don't really understand it. I get it conceptually, but at the end of the day, if I had to like present on it, I don't know. I probably could, but I feel different about Alamancy. Like I feel very, especially by book 3, it feels second nature. Whenever I'm reading what's happening, it doesn't even it just kind of flows through the system quite well. And so I think that's probably why people praise it is because it's very easy to understand, yet is also interesting. I think that's what it is. What if you okay, taking Brandon Sanderson out of the equation, right? So no Sanderson. What is a magic system that you would prefer over this? I guess we haven't really read too many like fantasy books. I can't name a bunch of magic systems to be fair.
yeah, I mean, Sanderson is essentially
The
my
magic system guy.
my
Yeah, I'm
window
with you.
into magic systems. But that's another thing. Like people call him the magic system guy, and I see why. I see why he even calls himself
Yeah.
that. I went into this not knowing a single thing about Brandon Sanderson. So for me, he's not the magic system guy. He's the I don't know. He's the character guy. He really gets. I mean, again, Kaladin.
Yeah.
Vin. He has some really great characters and really great character arcs that really hit the nail with the whole like depression and overcoming hopelessness and overcoming nihilism and fulfilling or finding faith, finding light, finding hope. He nails that for me. And so as someone who didn't really know much about Sanderson going into a Sanderson book, that's what I think of when I think of his books. That's why I read his books. That being said,
Yeah.
um, the system that I really like is the one in Stormlight because it has to do with emotional barriers. So the powers come from emotional growth, and I'm a psychologist.
That's
That's
a,
what I.
that's
It's what I
a,
like.
yeah,
Like that. I
it's
like
pretty
seeing
sick.
people become stronger, become confident because they overcome mental barriers. That's essentially the whole Stormlight series. It's overcoming mental barriers and like all these life lies, breaking those, shattering them, and becoming better. And Vin does this in Mistborn. The whole idea of trust, especially in this book. I mean, in this book, the whole idea of like you can't speak, you can't tell the plant, you can't
It's
communicate with
awesome.
your friends
It's
because Ruin is listening. You have to trust each other. That was awesome. I
That
think that
was
was
really
great.
cool. That was really cool, and especially because like characters were not always on the same page, but also sometimes I thought they were very strategic in this book in a really fun way. No, I think that's fair. I mean, I just did some very quick research of like, okay, what other magic systems do I know? We have Avatar: The Last Airbender, like it's a pretty
Yeah.
sick magic system. Harry Potter, but that's not even really like doesn't count.
Harry Potter's magic
It's too
system is
soft.
very
Yeah,
soft magic.
it's very
It's
soft.
very like self-contained too,
There's
like to each book.
there's other books I haven't read. Like I know that Steven Erickson's Malazan is like praised for, or I guess praised for not being precise in some of its magic. But that is a series that I've heard a lot about. I feel like we need to read it, but it is kind of Stormlight-esque intense of how much. So yeah, I'm not sure if we're ready for that after after all this. Alchemy in general is just a sick thing.
I love alchemy. I love alchemy. But you already knew that. I
Sucker for alchemy.
the one in Babel, the magic system in Babel
That was
was
sick. Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was
yeah.
so good. You
Oh
know,
my gosh.
plot and character issues aside. Same with
Yeah,
Catabasis. They never actually used the magic system in Catabasis,
yeah.
but it was cool. Like the idea of it. It's like
Yes. I
bending
completely
reality
agree.
by paradoxes. That's cool. I
You,
appreciate a
we
good
should
magic
start
system, but
we should start saying that Arv Kwong is actually the magic system person.
I
You
think
think
so.
Brandon Sanderson is the magic system guy? No, no, no. She's the magic system queen. Yeah, she has some really
Yeah.
good magic. I haven't read Poppy War, but because that's her like first big series that got her really popular. But so I don't know what the magic system is in that. But I mean, it's got to be good, right? It's got to be cool. So I don't know. Either way, Almensi is cool, but he has so many magic systems going on, and it's all very exciting. And I'll be honest, the point five, why it didn't get 10 out of 10. I should probably mention this. It did not get 10 out of 10 because I still didn't care about the places on the map. I still did not really care about the cities or like particularly the cultures, but the literal world I cared about. Like Scadrial as like a world I cared about. The races in the world. Like I don't know if you would call them races. That's a D&D phrase. The like
Easier.
species. Yeah, the species in the world I cared about. That was interesting. I guess the cultures between the different species was fascinating. But you didn't see too much of like literally different cultures because I guess the Lord Ruler had stamped that out, which makes sense. So it's not surprising. But it just kind of felt a little homogenous regarding the different cities. It all kind of feels the same. I mean,
I would agree with that.
The citizen was fascinating, but even within the city, the difference between that city and the other city that we really followed in the book is not super substantial. Their differences are only in like the scene that we get where Vin and Ellen go to the party, and that's like, oh, see, the classic. We got this in the first book. There's a party, and then the other one is, of course, the more revolutionary. Let's execute people, but I don't see it as much in the clothing, not to the extent that we do see in like Rashar, for example. So that is what's keeping this from a 10 out of 10 because I didn't care about the actual places on the map for the most part. So that for me is what held it back. Is that what held it back for you, or did you have a different critique? That is it because Alamensi is not the best magic
No,
system?
no, 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 no. Let me make this very clear, because I know you're gonna make it short, and it's only gonna be my hot take anyway. And I'm gonna and I'm gonna get flamed by
I
strangers on
just spit
YouTube
out
for
my
saying
drink.
that.
I just spit out my. Oh my gosh.
I
Man, you know me
like
too well.
Elementary.
I went, oh, you said hot take. Let's go. It's so funny.
I love Elementary. I think it's great. I love Magneto, and I love the
Oh,
X-Men. I
man.
love the
It's too
X-Men.
bad. It's too bad that's not going in the short, baby. Oh, you're going to
No,
get flamed. It's awesome. It's all right.
Elementary did not detract at all. It never it added to the value. Hemalurgy and Furukami, they also add to the I think I agree with you though. The world is really plain. It's really simple. And there were times where I would have to do a double take and reread to make sure that I knew which city we were on. It's like, wait,
Yeah.
why is the Kandra going this way where wait, these two characters are not in the same place, are they? Also just the idea of like the plot, the yeah, I mean, they just felt very similar. The cities, the cultures, which is part of the world because the Lord Emperor.
That doesn't make it good, though.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, the Lord Ruler did this, but yeah, I mean, you can still add a little bit of variety, especially now that the Lord Ruler is dead. But yeah, I could never really picture this world as vivid. Like they talk a lot about the terrace mountains and the forest and the lush valleys and no, the lush
It's black
forest
and
and the
white, man.
valleys. It's like the only way I picture this is plain, barren, desolate. There's a small medieval town here and there, and I think you can count them with the palm of your fingers. Like or with your fingers.
I think that
Yeah,
they
I mean, it's
should, because the
very
movie's
basic work.
coming. The movie, they're working on the movie, right? This is big news. We hit it. Jackpot time. We're reading Mistborn at the perfect time. Sanderson announced not only that they made the deal with Apple TV, but also that he's actively writing the first screenplay. Like that's his main thing right now. And I was thinking about this. I'm like, how do you picture the Mistborn world? Obviously, the best person to figure out how to picture it is Brandon Sanderson himself. But I was also thinking, like, dude, it's so monochrome. In my head, there's no color. There's the red sun, and then like everything is monochrome. How sick would it be if remember the scene in Dune? I think it's Dune 2, where
Yeah,
it's like super black and white, but they shot it. They shot it with I think it was an infrared camera. Is that right?
sure.
They shot it, I believe, with an infrared camera. And so it's not actually black and white. Black and white camera. Sorry for the delay here. I just want to make sure I have this right. Yeah, it's an infrared modified camera. So it's not technically black and white, it's infrared so that the shadows change the color of everything and the light literally changes the color. Like it's a really weird vibe. And everything just feels weird. You can see underneath the skin because everything's slightly translucent. I'm not saying that they should do that, but I am saying that it should heavily consider shooting black and white. I think that would be really sick. Just imagine the whole film. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe a
Think
few things in color, like the sun. It'd be a very very intense stylistic choice. But that's how I think of the world. Maybe the blood's also red. That'd be sick. I don't know. Sin City vibe. That would be, dude. I don't know.
I think that's a great idea, actually. I'm like,
I
damn,
guess you consider it like, is that stupid? Is that the dumbest thing I've heard, or is that cool?
that might actually work. I think you do it black and white or infrared. You have the red sun, the black ash, the white mist, and then you have color indoors, like when the characters are indoors in the ballrooms, in all that. Like it's part of
That'd be
nobility.
cool. Yeah, I would really like that. Like almost like colors is a luxury. That
Hmm.
that would be really interesting. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of that.
And
I
that
don't
way
think that
you
they'll
make
do
the
that.
ending. You make the ending where Sazed builds the world again, and all these characters kind of come out of their bunkers. And
That
they
much
see
better.
just green and blue, and they're like, "Oh, this won't do it. This is so weird." I think it's Breeze. Breeze says something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a good concept. I like that. That's very cool. Um,
Okay, so our final thing. We do this for every book, right? Subjective scale. What would you give it? Is it an ebook? Is it paperback? Is it hardcover collector's edition? What are you giving Mistborn, the Hero of Ages?
I give it hardcover. I think I am proud to own this. I wish they didn't have the ugly paperbacks. I wish I had a better cover to look at, something more pretty, something more
Wait,
epic.
what's your cover for this one? Wow, it's already back on the shelf.
So, we have Mistborn, The Final Empire, and Glass Being Shattered. Basic.
Blah.
We have The Well of Ascension. We have a bead, and we
Extra
have
blah.
crystals being shattered.
Oh, that's a bead. I've always wondered what that was. That makes sense.
I thought he was an electron or a proton at first.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
And then I have the Hero of Ages, which is, the spikes that are being used by the Inquisitors and
What
by
is it?
Ruin.
But what is it being put into in the cover?
And the cover,
On the cover, it looks quite vague, doesn't it? What is it?
it's like a table, like a...
They're just spiking up a table. Nice.
Yeah. It's
It'd
not...
be cool if it was like somebody's face that they were spiking into. That would have been an extra nice little detail.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they can
They
do
didn't
that.
ask me. They didn't ask me for cover design advice, I guess. So for good reason.
Probably for the best.
Yeah, I'm not a professional.
But it's a good thing we get these covers, because soon enough, when the movie comes out, they're gonna release those ugly
yes.
covers with like the live action.
Be like Ryan
characters.
Gosling on the cover or something like that.
Now a major motion picture. It's like, guys, I don't
Dude.
want to see.
Okay,
I don't wanna see
when
this.
did they start not making an actual sticker, but just printed on the cover that says now major motion picture? Once upon a time, it was like this actual sticker, right?
I don't know, but
think it was
whoever
like an
made that
actual sticker.
choice needs to be fired.
Yeah, man,
Screw
they
you.
are ruined. They are ruined. That's oh my gosh, I hate it. No, I agree. It's rough. I'm okay if it's like I think Project Hail Mary, the original cover is really good. I don't mind the Ryan Gosling cover as much. I think it still fits the vibe. I'm not super anti Ryan Gosling, and like, what's wrong with having a handsome man on your cover? However, I do hate the.
Have you seen the Hunger Games one? There's some really ugly ones.
I gotta say, is it?
It's basically the movie poster, and I don't want to see what's her face, as pretty as she is, as
Yeah.
and I don't want to see what's his name,
Pita.
Yeah, I don't want to see him.
Pita. Get pizza off my freaking cover.
I don't want to see
want
Mike from Five Nights at Freddy's.
That's his name. I guess I haven't seen the movies. That's yeah, that's awful. I don't want pizza on my cover.
Have you seen those like Amazon Lord of the Ring covers where they advertise the rings of power? Like, guys, just give me some stylistic covers. I mean, I'm showing you Red Rising, which is a horrible take.
I think it's an awful cover.
I actually despise this cover. But
there's some good covers. There's some good covers that they've released. Yeah,
like,
that's a sick cover.
Like, make something fun. Make something.
I got a really good cover. The Bastion.
Yeah, The Bastion. Link down below. Get your copy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
No, but I also would give it a hardcover. It's a classic hardcover book. I think this is something that I'd be proud to own. I'd be proud to have on my shelf. I only currently have book 2 on my shelf, so that's weird. So I'd like the first one and the third one. The first one fell apart. We had the cheap little, tiny paperback like you have, and it literally fell apart. Like it disintegrated. So it's time to get the full set again, I think, because it was 100% worth it. But maybe for era 2, I can start collecting the books again.
That would be
so.
nice.
Anyways, Nord, did you finish your drink?
I did finish my drink.
Yeah, I've been working really hard the last 10 minutes, but I also finished my drink. Here at Novels and Nightcaps, we finish our drinks. Everybody have a good night.